Okay, we'll call the meeting to order tonight for the city of Saratoga Springs, June 18th, 2024 at 6:01 p.m. Present tonight, I have Councilmember Barton, Councilmember Carn, McComber, Wadman, and Wilden. So we do have a quorum this evening. I've asked Councilman McComber to lead us in our invocation and Councilman Wilden to lead us in our pledge.
Our dear and gracious Heavenly Father, as we come before Thee at this time, we're thankful for all the many blessings Thou hast given us. We're thankful for the opportunity to live in this beautiful city, and we are grateful for the opportunity that we have to govern ourselves that has been promised by the Constitution of the country, the United States, and also of the state of Utah. Heavenly Father, we ask a blessing upon us this night, that we'll be able to have the gift of discernment, that we'll be able to make decisions that will benefit the city of Saratoga Springs, not just today, but into the future as well. We ask a blessing on those first responders and those serving in the military. We ask a special blessing on those all city employees who are out there serving every day to help make this city truly the greatest place to live. And we thank Thee again and say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public input. Time has been set aside for people to express ideas, concerns for subject matter not listed on the agenda. If you're here for the public hearing tonight, please save your comments for the public hearing on the school district split feasibility study and recommendation. For that time, please, if you're here for the public input, limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please avoid repetitive comments, and please state your name and address for the record. Is anybody here for public input tonight? If you want to come up.
Hi, I'm Lisa Dunn. I live at 1894 East Brooklyn Circle, and that's just off of the new Pony Express Parkway that was renamed, and just off of 1100. And we don't have a sidewalk. I've come before and talked to you about this, but we don't have a sidewalk between our neighborhood and 1100. And so we were talking about how even my kids have had to jump out of the way to get to and from the bus when they had to go to school. We did have a 12-year-old boy in our neighborhood that was clipped by a car while riding his bike on the edge of the road there. So I'm just coming to bring that to your attention to see what can be done to add a sidewalk there. They've been putting in sidewalks between my neighborhood and the charter school, but it does affect everyone in my neighborhood. The homes behind us are starting to be built, and there won't be a sidewalk between our neighborhood and that 1100. So all the kids that are going to the charter school, to our neighborhood, anything like that, they all have to walk in the road, and they try and stay off of it as much as they can. The trick is sometimes we put up extra signage to stay, there's extra construction going on, or there's certain trucks that aren't allowed to ride on that road, and it puts our kids further into the road or further into the weeds and the bushes, kind of out of their way. So I'm just wondering if there's a way that we can kind of go about getting that sidewalk finished and completed to 1100. So.
Councilman McComber, you had a question?
Do your kids go to the public school?
Yep.
And do they offer bus?
They do offer a bus. So I actually teach at Dry Creek, which is behind my house. So they offer a bus that comes for the junior high right now to Willow Creek, and a bus that comes to my neighborhood to Dry Creek. When there's construction and they close down parts of my road, they don't, because there's no way for the bus to get through. So right now, because it's down closer to 500, then we still get the bus, but as soon as they need to cut off that portion to finish the sewer line right there, the bus won't be able to come again, and they'll have my kids walking. The high schoolers don't have that option. They have to go into the next neighborhood over, which means they do have to walk in the road there.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councilman Carn?
Did you get an address? What was your address again?
1894 East Brooklyn Circle.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else for public input? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public input. Any reports from the council? Okay, seeing none, Mark, administration?
We do have need of a closed session tonight, otherwise no administrative report this time.
Yep. Okay. Also, if you have not signed in tonight, if you could please sign in at the sign-in sheet as you entered the door here, so we have a record of who was in attendance for the hearings tonight. And then also the farmer's market started tonight at Neptune Park. So you've got food trucks, farmer's market, and events going on there, and it's every Monday.
Because the win yesterday, it's today.
Yeah, every Monday is just off a day. Okay, consent items, I will entertain a motion.
So made.
Second.
I have a first from Councilman McComber, second from Councilman Carn. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'm eating the sourdough bread from the farmer's market, and it's amazing. Let me just tell you.
We can, or do you want to?
We move it up. There's people here who don't want to be for it.
Okay.
That's up to you.
Okay, we've had a request from the council, partly because the business items are boring tonight, to move the public hearing up. So we will make that change on the agenda. We'll move to the public hearing on the school district split feasibility study and recommendation. Kevin?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, this is the second of the required two public hearings that you'll hear, or you'll be holding on the feasibility study and the recommendations contained in the feasibility study. And just for the process, just to go over the process and how we've gotten to this point, thought it would be beneficial for the public to, for me to go through this. On April 29th, 2024, Saratoga Springs, Eagle Mountain, and the town of Fairfield entered into an interlocal agreement for the possible creation of a new school district. A request to put it on the ballot to be submitted to the voters was filed the very next day on April 30th. That was submitted to the county clerk. The county clerk certified the request on May 7th. And after that occurred, we received a feasibility study from Lewis Robertson Birmingham on May 21st. There was also a feasibility study that was tied to that as well through MGT Consulting. That's dated April 2024. That's both of those are in your packet. Those feasibility studies determined that it would be feasible to create a new school district. On May 21st, City Council received that study officially in a public meeting. That began the public comment period that goes from May 21st to July 5th. And well, in a minute, I'll have the city recorder read some of the public comment that we received. Public hearings, again, this is the second of the two required public hearings. The first one was on June 4th. And then we've got it scheduled for the city council to meet to take final action on July 16th, 2024. So the city recorder did receive a couple public comments. We may receive a few more before July 5th, but we can go over those, and we'll go over those again in July as well when we meet to take final action on this. So go ahead, Kayla.
Okay.
Kayla's going to read the public comments that we've received.
We received two before the meeting tonight. One from Alex Wang, who lives on Fort Rock Drive. And they said, "I don't see the need for a new school district, but if there is a new one, can we please keep the dual language immersion program?" And then the second one was from Heather Lambert on Lakeview Terrace Road. "I would like to add my comment in support of the Saratoga Springs, Eagle Mountain, Cedar Fort, and Fairfield interlocal agreement to split from Alpine School District. Thank you for working closely with our neighboring cities and finding a better solution for our children's future education needs."
Perfect.
Okay. And again, you're not taking action tonight, you're just having a public hearing, but certainly are welcome to ask questions of staff before we get into the public hearing. either the feasibility study or the process, but that's all I have.
Is there any questions from the council for staff? Okay, this is a public hearing. If you're here for the public hearing, please come to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. Please avoid repetitive comments. Please be respectful in your comments. The audience, please hold your applause, booing, cheers. That you will be asked to leave the council chambers if you can't keep decorum. So we'll open up the mic for anybody here for public hearing.
I guess I'll go first because everyone's looking at me.
It's always good or bad to be liked.
I was gonna try to go last, but that's okay. All right. My name's Wendy Jensen. I live at 3937 Lake Mountain Drive over in the Lake Mountain community over there. I'm in favor of the proposed interlocal agreement for the split off from Alpine School District. I visited every school in this area. I have sat in meetings with the district and heard the plea from the west side for years now. I have pleaded for the west side. I have listened to principals and staff share their concerns for the things like overcrowded classrooms to many other issues. Sorry, I gotta put my glasses on real quick. I have attended many board meetings where our community board representatives are outvoted 4-3, 5-2. Our local board members work so hard to support us and can't even put anything on the agenda without the other board members allowing it. It is blatant disregard for the needs of the West Side that our school board members keep getting outvoted despite the relentless advocacy. This ongoing pattern is not just frustrating, it is an injustice that cannot be ignored any longer. It's time to let our community be in control of the education for our students and bring our tax dollars back to the West where they belong. With a district split, our community will be able to create a new board to help our children flourish in a place where needs will be met by board members within our community that are invested in all our children's needs. The discussion about the split has pitted parents and teachers against each other. It has turned cities against each other. At the end of the day, we should be having the same conversation: what is best for our students? The division among groups shows that it is time to decide what is best for our children, the children of Saratoga Springs, and bring it home. I just want to add that we have amazing board members out here that represent the West Side, and the teachers and staff here, they all work miracles every day with what they are given. Let's give them more. They are amazing. I hope we continue to fight to keep the best educators in the West, but I believe it can be so much better for all parties if we create our own district. We are in desperate need of a new high school out here, and I don't see that happening with the current board. I'm not saying it will be easy, but it's the right thing to do for our children. We must move forward and create a better vision for our children and make it happen. Thank you.
My name is Jen Southwick. I live at 103 East Ready Way. I have lived in Saratoga Springs for about 12 years, and I've done everything from room mom to teaching for the district. I've had 3 kids attend the school district as well, so I have a lot of thoughts concerning a district split. I am in favor for this interlocal agreement and would like to share just 2 of the reasons why I'm in favor of that. First and foremost, the students in our community deserve an entire school board that's going to do what's best for them. We're lucky to have Julie King and Joylyn Lincoln that relentlessly go to bat for our kids and our teachers in our area, but they're fighting an uphill battle against the rest of the board. Alpine keeps saying that they're doing just fine, but according to the proposed budget for the upcoming school year, nearly 50% of the 8th graders that took the RISE test last school year are not considered proficient. Can we truly say that Alpine's doing just fine if less than half of our students entering high school are considered to be proficient? Our students deserve better and they deserve more attention. Second, I know firsthand how hard the teachers work in our area. I know there's a lot of uncertainty about pay and benefits and what it will look like if we split. I have the same concerns for if I return to teaching. But I do think that our teachers out here deserve better. They deserve better pay, better resources, smaller classrooms, and so much more. And in turn, helping our teachers have better, will also help our students. They'll have better teaching, they'll have better possibilities, and that can only happen if we take control of what's happening within our community and have a board that's 100% invested in our community. And I believe that creating a new school district will make it better for both teachers and students. Thank you.
I am Amber McIntyre. I live at 3344 Tiger Heron Drive, and I have 3 children, all in elementary or below. I am also in favor of the interlocal. I like to keep a really close tab on how everybody votes, and I love the little maps that they put out. And I watched the bond very, very closely, and I watched how our west side very much wanted to pass that bond. We know we need the high school. I'm kind of terrified to put my kids in the current situation that is going to expand to become worse. But when we had the bond on the ballot for the entire district, the east side voted it down. We voted it for it. We knew what we needed. The other side controls what our children are allowed to have, what access we're allowed to have. I think we need the interlocal. I think we need to have the high school, and we need to have more support. And I don't think we can get it, especially having attended the board meetings with the school district recently and watching the ones online as well. They are not going to vote for our children. They are not going to vote to put any of their tax dollars over here, and even letting our tax dollars stay here. It's not been on their ballot, and it's not been in their budget. And I think that we need to stand up for our children, and we need to have the interlocals to take their place. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Melissa Hadley. I live at 2038 East Brenner Street. That's right behind Dry Creek Elementary. My kids have attended Lee High Schools all the way to where they are in junior high. I also teach currently in Alpine School District. Used to be first grade, but I'm now going to kinder, so wish me luck. Anyway, I know that there needs to be a split. I've taught in the district. My kids go to the district, but I just want to say teachers are scared. We are nervous. This is our career. It's our livelihood. It's who we are. And I feel that there's been a lack of transparency with a lot of things, so I'm just asking, please be as transparent as you can. I know you don't have a crystal ball to tell us about benefits and steps and lanes and insurance, but please think of the teachers when you're doing this. Also, my street is very sad about to not be able to go to the school that is in our backyard. Our kids are going to have to be bused into Saratoga, even though technically we are. They're going to pass 2 elementary schools to get there. And that's very hard when right across the street, all their friends go to Lee High Schools. So please let us know what's going on with those. I probably am not making any sense, but I am in favor of a split because I know it's needed. But yeah, that's all.
Good evening. I'm Brian King, 1864 Peppermint Place in Harvest Hills. Councilmember McComber, I enjoyed the invocation, how you talked about the rights that we have to govern ourselves. And I think that's an important point for the split. Parents in Utah, by the Constitution, have the right and responsibility to be in charge of their children's education. And interlocals actually respect that, in my opinion. We're able to say in our area, hey, we're not having our needs met, and we can move that forward. I think it's really fitting that the comment period ends on the 5th of July, right after Independence Day. And Wendy Jensen talked a lot about the problems that we've sought redress for, like in the Declaration, how it outlines those problems. every measure really shows that this area is losing out. Our kids aren't getting the dollars per pupil, they're not getting the square footage, they're not getting the programs, and we need to make a change. I know that there's a lot of consternation in the teaching community, and that's rightly so, but the best way to solve that is to have representatives from our area who know our people, who care about our kids. And so I'm just saying, after the 5th, shortly after, within 2 weeks, let's declare our independence. Thank you.
My name is Julie King, 1864 North Peppermint Place. I want to clarify that I'm speaking here giving my own personal opinion. I'm not speaking on behalf of the Board of Education. I just wanted to share an experience in chatting with one of our reading interventionists last week. She shared that in her school, there are 300 students who need reading intervention, and she can get to 130 a day. So she has to choose which kids get access. I can tell you as a school board member, I'm in a situation where I'm limited as to what problems I can solve in the current dynamics. The amount of students that we have who are multi-language learners, who are newcomers, who need additional supports, we need to be able to provide that. The amount of increases in the needs we're seeing in special education, we need to be able to take care of that and provide our teachers the right resources. We ask them to do so much with so little. And we need to be able to put those resources in schools where they belong and get our students the access that they need. I will also say that we are seeing a significant challenge with the number of families who are also facing poverty. Once again, when those resources are being funneled in different directions, it limits our ability to solve problems. And I would like for us to be able to solve problems in a different way. I hear what the teachers are saying. One of the challenges is that you can't really promise things because those are things that, a board has not been elected. Those are things in the future. But I can say that I am significantly focused on making sure that we preserve programs, take care of our employees, and have solid plans long-term for the longevity of the school system, not just here in Saratoga, but across the district. I have communicated with city council members, mayors, about ways that we can solve problems moving forward that benefit all students in all communities and that don't pit communities against each other. And I hope that's the thing that we can focus on moving forward, is that the focus is on solving problems district-wide, and the best way to have that occur is if there's a 3-district configuration. Thank you.
My name is Whitney Child. I live at 778 Meadowside Drive in Saratoga. My children are in Saratoga schools. I have taught in Saratoga schools for 12 years, 25 years total. I am a product of the Canyons-Jordan split, and I know everybody keeps saying it's not the same. I came to Alpine because of the split, and I'm not the only one in this district who did that. I chose to go to Canyons for all of the same reasons that are being promised right now. And it was so terrible, it wasn't worth it anymore. I gave up a lot of really, really good things to try something new, and we got zero support. We had a board who didn't care for us. We had a superintendent who told us on the very first day, we have taken down the great oak. And here's a whole group of incredible educators that I worked with who've formed who I am as a teacher, who have worked so hard to build up so many good things. To have somebody who had only taught a couple of years come in and say, we're starting over because nothing you were doing was good enough. That has been how many teachers are feeling right now. There is a lot of good within the district. Yes, there are problems, and I'm not going to deny those. I see some of them. I also see that I was able to spend $50,000 in my classroom, in my department, for books over the last, I think, about 4 years. My friends on the east side are wondering how we got access to money like that, because as they're starting new programs, they don't have any of that funding. So I am getting some of the things I need. In addition, I would take any of our portables over half of the classrooms on the east side. Part of my job, I work in other schools throughout the entire district, namely secondary schools, so I can't speak to elementary. But man, I would take our portables that we're getting over what some of their classrooms look like. I know that, like I said, I know there are concerns, but I think we also need to really, really be careful with how we're treating those people, those teachers who have spent so much time trying to build up something really good. And I will say, reading some of the social media posts and the platforms on there, we're being told that, let's just call it as it is, you just are worried about a pay cut. Or we're being told that we're self-serving. I don't know that I want to work in a district where that is being allowed to be talked about, of something that I'm so passionate about. Like I said, I understand there's problems. I'm terrified for a split, and in fact, to the point that I'm looking at my retirement early, because I just don't think I can do it again. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Brad Jensen, 3924 Sunrise Drive. A few people that I've been talking to, were just wondering about, I haven't caught up on a lot of it or read up on a lot of it, but budgeting, the transparency issue, and wondering if our taxes are going to shoot up. So that was a couple of the concerns that some of the people I've talked to. That's all. I think I'm for it.
Okay. Okay, anybody else? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing at this time on the Alpine School District feasibility split. And I just want to thank those who came and made a comment. I know the discussions went on long before it hit the public to the level it is now, but wanted to express my thoughts. I think the interlocal is good for the kids on the west side. I think that it's great. I had a chance to talk to Whitney. She worked with my dad. My dad spent 40 years teaching in the Jordan School District, Canyon School District, has a boots on the ground. He didn't run to administration to hide from the kids. He did stay teaching for 40 years, taught a little in Alpine. So there are some concerns that I hope as we elect a new board that teachers are remembered, teachers are watched after, because I watched my dad live through that. And so there are concerns that I have that I hope the new board will address. I know in talking with board member King and Layton that, they're aware of those concerns and hopefully those transfer over. They're trying their best to learn from the mistakes of Canyons. There's no promise that we're going to get it perfect. If we did, it would be great to get that perfect. But I do hope that we can come to an agreement that when the residents have voted on the ballot, if the district split happens, that we can all move forward in the right direction to protect the kids, the teachers, and the education quality that's out here so that we can continue to have the success we've had through that. Councilman McComber, you had a question?
I just had a quick comment. I just recommend those of you who aren't familiar with the feasibility study, the gentleman who spoke at the end, to go and review that. It talks about potential tax increases. There's no magic 8 ball, but there would be an increase in taxes. The economies of scale, it's just obvious. And what that means, what the level of increase will be depends on how we continue to grow, et cetera. But just wanted to make sure that people are out there looking at that. And then also, I just want to make sure that we also have time. Even if it does pass, it doesn't mean it happens within 3 or 4 months. If the residents do choose that, there'll be years and an opportunity to really try and do it right. I think that some of the past maybe was rushed a little bit faster in some of the other districts, but we will be hoping that if we do end up passing it as residents, because I'm one of the residents too, if it does pass, that people will really work with those new school board members to make sure that we do it better. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, perfect. Any other comments? Not, I'll close this item. Okay, we'll close this and move on to business item 1, Saratoga Commons, Lot 1 site plan located at the southwest corner of Saratoga Road and Pioneer Crossing. Yes, you're welcome.
Hurry, lock the doors.
From the classroom to be an administrator.
Please do, it was amazing.
She lives in.
The cinnamon rolls were so good.
She lives.
They're all gone. They probably are.
She lives in my neighborhood.
Good evening. Are you ready? All right. This is a proposal for a site plan approval for a, sorry. I'm presenting on behalf of one of the other planners, so I apologize if I'm a little disoriented. It's located at 737 North Saratoga Road, and it does meet all of the requirements in the code related to site plans. That means parking, landscaping, building elevations, height, etc. These are the proposed elevations. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Councilman McComber?
So the elevations, I noticed that there wasn't as many vertical. Are they meeting all of the?
So our code in that section, they have to have vertical and horizontal equivalent of five square feet every 40 feet, and a roof articulation can count. So it can be, they have to do that. So they have to have the vertical and horizontal breaks just across their elevation every 40 feet. And then they have to have 2, and then there's a list of 5 items, and they have to have 2 of those. So roof articulation can be one of those. And they are, based on that criteria that they have, a change in the, vertical or horizontal plane.
I don't see anything. I see this very flat roof. How is there?
They don't all have to, it doesn't all have to be in the roof, the way that the code is written right now.
So it's a mistake, because that's something that we were pretty adamant about, that we didn't have a bunch of flat rectangle buildings. So when we made changes to code, we've made it so that they can build flat, no dynamic buildings. That's really concerning to me.
Changing the roof articulation is one of the options. We haven't changed that part of the code for a while. We did change it in relation to mixed waterfront, so that might be about what you're thinking of.
Maybe. I just think that building's absolutely ugly, so that's all.
If you want us to take a closer look at that as a council, we're happy to receive that direction.
Ugly doesn't, I can't stop ugly. That doesn't mean that I just don't have to go to those businesses if I don't want to, but I just think that building does not, this is on our gateway ordinance. Isn't this in our gateway? Doesn't our gateway require extra? This is within the gateway.
It is in the gateway.
This meets the gateway?
Yes, we did review it against the gateway requirements.
There's no way
This would be the front elevation.
Do they have a sign, a monument sign or anything? They're right on the entrance to Saratoga Springs. Like they are the entrance to Saratoga Springs.
They probably will. They haven't proposed that with this application, but I imagine that they will.
So if we could just double check to make sure they're meeting the gateway ordinance, sort of like we didn't double check with Valvoline, we got screwed. I just really don't want to miss anything. So double check, triple check, quadruple check, please. Thank you. Mayor?
Okay. Any other comments from the council?
It is that our gateway, that we have that there for a reason, right? We do want it to look nice as we're coming to our city. So maybe just some of those same concerns that Councilmember McComber had shared about that, maybe just make sure, not that you guys didn't make sure beforehand, but yeah, it is our gateway, and I think we made a really big deal out of our gateway and making sure that it's very inviting and things, look really nice coming to our city, so that's it.
And then be four-sided architecture? Because the gateway requires four-sided architecture.
Right, I did go through, the planner who worked on this, I did go through Kent's checklist and look at all of those items before we prepared the packet. I was under the impression that it met, but I am more than happy to double check.
Okay, other comments? If not, I'll entertain Councilman Wilden.
I'm just looking in our packet. It looks like there is different height elevations. We have the roof plan, the east, the south. There is variations. I think just it's not showing up on there. So,
Sorry, yeah, it was the backside, because the four-sided, because the backside, that's the part that faces Redwood Road, Pioneer Crossing, and that's what everyone sees.
This one.
well, okay, well,
So this is the
whatever, they
backside
can
of the
go
building.
check it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just don't see how that meets it, but you'll double check.
I will.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So Steve and I agree the front looked fine.
I'll move that we approve business item 1 as stated on the agenda, including any staff's findings and conditions, with a condition that staff confirms that all requirements have been met.
For the gateway.
For the gateway, yes, thanks.
Okay, I have a first from Councilman Wilden,
Second.
second from Councilman Carn. Any further discussion?
I will be voting for this because it meets code. That's why.
Okay, we'll do a roll call. Barton,
Aye.
McComber.
Aye.
Wadman.
Aye.
Carn.
Aye.
Wilden.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We have business item 2, the Saratoga Springs Commercial Plat G, General Plan and Land Use.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we have the general plan amendment and the rezone for the Saratoga Springs Commercial Plat G area. This is about 43.32 acres. It is right there at the Crossroads Boulevard, Pioneer Crossing, northeast. I made a mistake in the staff report. It's the northeast section of the intersection. There is the canal that runs through there. There is in our Trails Master Plan, the canal trail does run through there, so this development will require that. But for the rezone, it is they're requesting to rezone 14.2 acres to multifamily 18, MF 18, and then the remaining 29.12 acres to regional commercial. The general plan amendment is they're wanting to remove the 12.3 acres of business park and change it to regional commercial. So that is the general plan amendment request. Here is the proposed zoning. So as you can see, they are asking to change all of the green, the light green to regional commercial and the dark green to multifamily. This is the proposed general plan amendment. So you can see the light blue, as you can see on the left side of the screen where it says business park. That on the general plan currently, that 12.3 acres is that light blue, and it is crossing over. They're asking to reconfigure the high density in the general plan to be more linear along the canal so that they can utilize that trail corridor. And so in the multifamily development. So the acreage is staying the same. They're just asking to reconfigure that. The business park, they are asking to remove that and replace it with regional. Business park up in the corner is a totally different property. So it's just this part northeast of the Crossroads and Pioneer Crossing intersection. The concept plan was submitted at the same time with this application, just showing the tabulations of what is being proposed there. Big box store there next to Tractor Supply and the liquor store, and then the multifamily, and then regional commercial wrapping around that along Crossroads Boulevard. They are proposing in the multifamily 18 is to utilize that, doing 18 units per acre. And so that does show the number there of let's see, 256 units with a mixture of apartments and townhomes in that area.
We have a couple questions. Councilwoman Barton?
Sure.
No questions, just till the end, just discussion.
Okay. Councilman Wilden?
It is a question, but maybe you'll answer it later. From my understanding, they're not requesting an increase in housing.
No.
In a density, it's just
Correct.
moving things around. Is that-
Correct. They're not asking for any additional acreage to be rezoned to multifamily, correct? As far as what the general plan allows for. The general plan in that area shows 14.2 acres
Yeah.
as being high density. Now, there are different zones that are allowed within a high density, which is MF 14 and MF 18. And so they're asking for that higher density at MF 18.
So I mean, maybe I'm jumping ahead, but I'm going to anyway. I mean, since they're just shifting things around, I'm okay with that. If we're going to regional commercial, I'm okay with that. I would like us to include a condition that there is no housing allowed in the regional commercial part.
Okay,
That way, you know, they're maintaining what they had on the density allowances. I don't see it in the plans. I'm not particularly concerned, but I'd just
Sure.
like to not inadvertently trigger additional density beyond what's already there.
If they're gonna go to MF 18 and not 14, I would support that.
right.
Councilman Carn? Is that what was your comment?
Yeah, if they're gonna go to 18, not 14 and that high density, I'm okay with that with the restrictions on the RC zone.
Okay. Councilman McComber?
So I'm not okay with the 18 versus 14 because we're giving up business park. So what are we getting from a city perspective? We're losing business park, and we lose business park every day. And so I just don't think that, I think that they can stick with MF 14. We don't need to have 4 more units to the acre, packing that in super tight. If they are allowed MF 14 or 18, and we have a decision or a choice that we can choose which one we want to allow, then I would absolutely choose the MF 14, reducing density as much as possible whenever I legally can, and avoid the the losing of the business park to regional commercial as one of the reasons why.
Okay. Really quick, Councilwoman Barton, Kevin has some legal.
Just to be clear, this is a rezone. You are, the general plan is advisory.
Yeah.
You are rezoning the property here. You're not required to follow the general plan. Just want to make sure you're clear on that.
So this multifamily housing is, they have a zone for the multifamily, or is it the general plan?
This is, you were changing the zoning on this. It's, general plan is showing it as high-density residential, but this still is a rezone. And our general plan is advisory.
Then absolutely, I'm in favor of MF 14. I think the advisory person bought the land under the impression that they could have multifamily housing here. If I mean, technically, I've made it, I mean, in my 15 years, I've rarely approved multifamily housing. In fact, I don't think I have unless there's a really good reason or benefit to the city, whether it's transportation, huge amount of easement for roads, building of roads, building of infrastructure. They're really giving nothing. And so MF 14 makes absolute sense from conservative principles that I've ran on, and I've been, as a city council member, I've constantly fought for reduced density in this city. And so did the residents with propositions to reduce density. So because it was in the general plan, I know that's advisory, they had intent, they believed that they could have some kind of density here, but MF 14 is all I would be willing to go with.
And to go based off of what Kevin said, the definition in the general plan for high-density residential is to allow for MF 14 or MF 18 areas designated for high-density attached dwellings such as condos, apartments, and townhomes. So that's what's advisory in the general plan.
So if we go MF 18, they're going to go more apartment. They'll have the ability to go more apartment. MF 14 will make it more difficult for apartment.
And they don't have the breakdown on this, they just have the number of units, so I don't know what that is necessarily.
This is
Right,
MF 18.
right.
Behind us, this out there is MF 18, just so we all are clear.
Gina, we got just a
Yes,
couple
sorry,
questions
go
from
ahead.
Councilman. Councilwoman Barton?
Councilmember McComber already actually addressed to what my concern was, is that I swear every single time we have a piece of business park, someone business park, it comes to us saying, let's change this. And I think we're losing all of our business park. And it might not be like the top thing developers are looking for, but I think it's also a need in our city. And I'm not sure if we should keep giving it up. And so that's my concern with this, is that we're losing another section of business park, and we just keep doing that, so.
Councilman Wadman?
My question is the high density along the road, because we've been hearing a lot from citizens already about noise and stuff like that. Will there be any consideration for along that road?
Along the crossroads.
Yeah,
So Crossroads, all along Crossroads will be regional commercial.
okay.
So there will be that buffer,
There.
that gradation of, that transition into high-density residential.
Okay.
Okay, Councilman Carn?
I'm fine with MF 14. I don't have any problem with that. I support that. Kind of a separate note, I've been saying this for a few months now. I'd love us to revisit our land use map and get rid of high-density residential. We don't need it. Yeah, just, and, you know, they've got a plan here, they're coming into this, but for the future, I'd like to address that.
So we don't give them false.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Mark?
Mayor, I just wanted to quickly point out the difference between an R, or an M 18 and 14 is about 56 units on 14 acres. So the delta is about 56 unit difference on those 14 acres.
But it's in line with the land use map.
Yeah.
Okay, but 56 more units we don't have to do.
No, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. MF 14, I'm good.
Okay. Yep. There you are. Sorry, your mic was going on and off. So the applicant, if you want to come up to the table here.
Thank you. On this plan, there's two things I'll address. One is that we're trying to consolidate and create a meaningful consolidation of the business uses. In the projects like this where we develop, if we have isolated office in relationship to retail and residential, it kind of stands alone and doesn't function nearly as well as it does if I can get, 15, 20 acres of that use, and in that environment create a plaza where the buildings interface, the uses are synergistic, the traffic, the parking, all these things kind of interface better. So the property on the other side of Crossroads is the same ownership, is the same development entity, and that's the intent, is that we focus the business park on the Mountain View corridor side of Crossroads, do something consequential there. It'll probably have some, as is indicated by the red, some sort of commerce-oriented uses along the access on Crossroads. But so the business park is not being eliminated from the master plan, it's being consolidated on the side of the road. So we would diminish the regional commercial there in favor of the business park and see if we can't do something more consequential in terms of the relationship of these uses in conjunction with each other for the business park issue.
So the business park being consolidated, is that something that is going to be contracted with the city, or is it just you'll come in 2 years and say, we can't get people to come to the
It's
business?
zoned agricultural, all of it is today. You have to be able to approve the zone. We're not dealing with the general plan on that side at this point, so we've got to come back and make a presentation on that. That's probably a year or more down the road. What we're trying to do is create the kind of relationship between the land uses that affords the merchants that will be here the best opportunity of success, and being able to have the uses be more synergistic, more beneficial for the community as well as for the operators. Right?
Well, I'll go ahead.
Really quick, in our staff notes is the properties, because I know it's a year and a half later, you're not asking for a rezone on it, but could we just, in our staff notes where you guys track it, make a note of that on that property, so if the ownership changes hands and it comes to the council, we can say, hey, we had this discussion in 2024, we moved this because of this.
Yeah, we're okay with that.
And those of us who will still be here will remember it, but it doesn't guarantee who will be here when it comes.
Yeah,
And that's the problem we deal with.
And it's interesting, if I can just editorialize on that just a moment. We're finding that we're having a higher quality of tenancy in suburban sites and more demand for those sites by virtue of changes in technology and virtual meetings and these type of things. People aren't needing to travel to the central business districts for their business locations as much as they want to be in the communities close to the employees. The residential component here also is very supportive of the employment at the hospital, University of Utah, IHC, et cetera. So you have people in walking distance for commerce, for retail consumption, for employment, you know, and creating this kind of an environment where the trail connects all these things together, where we create this kind, more of a community balance to this than we do if we start interspersing not random, but small modules of office and relationship retail. Those are not particularly interactive in terms of the trips that the consumers are making. They're kind of different trips for different purposes, right? So that's the logic behind the east side, west side analysis and how we're approaching it. Again, not increasing the amount of residential. We do have issues here that we want to enhance the trail system and the pedestrian corridors here. Those things are things we can do better on if we have, you know, a little stronger economic engine. Therefore, the higher density does assist us in being able to do more in the plan, make it more functional, make it more interactive, interface with IHC's parcel better. And this does have a mixed-use element to it. It's not all, like you're talking about the project behind the city council here, it's not all same building, same heights. There's going to be townhouses, lower level, higher level, this kind of stuff. It's going to have a variation in density as the project design is indicating, but you can't see the vertical elements here. But it does have that variation here to cause the density. So we are making the request for the 18 units per acre and believe it gives us the best product, the most functional product, provides us the best opportunity to create the better public venues.
Mark, you had a comment.
I did, and Richard, this is really a question for you. Are you okay if the council, they just mentioned they want to revisit the general plan. Are you okay if we use this exhibit to plan for that general plan update for that western parcel?
Yes.
Okay. And Mayor, perhaps you could make that motion, or whoever makes that motion, to include that exhibit being brought back as an amendment to the general plan.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Councilman Wilden?
Mark stole my thunder. I mean, that's what the mayor is talking about, put it in your notes. I'd rather us just put it in the general plan that addresses Councilmember Carnes' comment. Removing high density, putting the business park over on, I'm gonna say the left side. I
The
don't
west
know.
side, yeah.
West side.
Of
It's-
Crossroads, yeah.
Yeah, the west side, and then that, we're not reliant on notes.
Just so, I just want to make sure you're clear that that map that he's showing is identical to what's in the general plan currently.
Correct.
Okay.
So he's not, I don't think the applicant is promising that they're going to do more business park than what is already in the general plan.
Okay.
Kevin, the general plan shows that, it labels it as business park, but it is colored regional commercial.
It's zoned regional
No.
commercial.
The city map is wrong. If you look at the actual general plan adopted, it shows it as business park in blue, and it's identical to what, I mean, I'm assuming it is. It's not drawn to scale, but it's pretty close.
This is what the general plan looks
That's
like.
what the general plan shows.
Oh,
Okay. I'm seeing what he's.
Yeah, just, sorry about that. We're trying to work through that. Every time we change one color, it changes other colors.
Hey, Mark, could we do a city-initiated rezone on that piece, so it's no longer general plan? It's just,
The challenge we face with that is changing, we certainly can. It just affects their property taxes, but we certainly can. So,
We prefer to leave it agricultural.
yep, I got it.
As long as
Makes sense.
possible.
Yeah.
So I just, and I appreciate your comment around that you're having a mix of density, but if we give an MF 18, you sell this because something happens, or it gets, you go back to your team and they're like, okay, yeah, so we'll have townhomes here, but then we're gonna have a lot of apartments right here, and we're still gonna be MF 18 across the board. 54 units is just too much for me to swallow, so I'll be making the motion around MF 14, but if I get to make the motion.
Can I make another comment?
you bet.
Related to staff recommendations. Staff recommendations are that, I don't know if we can pull this up. Can I give you a
Sarah,
PDF?
can you pull up
They have them.
the concept? We have a phasing plan that they brought to us tonight. Sarah's bringing it up.
The staff recommendations are that we install the signal at, what's the crossroads?
It's 1400 North.
1400
And
North
Crossroads.
Crossroads at the time the first phase, which is the red, is being developed. Now, in the red at the back, there's detention pond behind the major retailer, and then there's a retail pad south of liquor store. So on Exchange, it'll be street front presentation of commerce all the way down, but you can kind of make out the text there that says detention pond. So what we're doing is we're developing the detention facilities for the whole area in the first phase. We are then installing the traffic signal in the first phase, and everything to the north, the blue line represents the canal, but the trail system and the canal piping will occur from the red all the way up. What we're wanting to do is to develop the commercial facilities more or less in sequence, coming from east down to Pioneer Crossing. And so we're going to break, when we file the plat, we'll break those into phases. So I'd like to be able to do the canal piping through the residential. We have topography issues there, we have landscape issues there that really are kind of codependent on the piping, and once we set all the elevations and the interior roads and things. But we would do it from the red line up with first phase and do the piping in the residential section at the time the first portion of the residential project is built. There's no public access to the ditch. There's no greater safety risk for the ditch than there is today in terms of anybody accessing it. We wouldn't be developing over to where Crossroads bends and goes more in a south direction. So it'll be retained, it'll be looking exactly like it looks now until such time the full southern portion that's developed. The north will come in first.
It is stipulated in just to make note and make you aware, in the development agreement, it does state that that would have to be a correction made on page 5 of the development agreement. Section 5, D, it says that the trail through the development shall be designed to be pedestrian friendly by minimizing road crossings, implementing traffic calming. I'm pretty sure it got put in there. Did you? I'm looking for it specifically. Anyways, we'll just need to make sure we check that. That was a request by Jeremy to have the trail, the canal trail be done with the first phase.
And so we haven't designed the landscaping or the final site plan. We don't know about the trail meandering. Once we pipe the canal, it isn't restricted to running in a truly linear fashion parallel to the canal. So it's going to provide us a lot of design options if we can get those features designed at the same time we're getting the site plan approval on the residential. That's our thought. Now, the signal here, UDOT chipped in and dealt with part of the cost on the signal at Commerce and Redwood Road that runs into Home Depot, which we had late breaking approvals on all that and kind of a Chinese fire drill to get those all approved and get the intersection built correctly and get the signal operating before Home Depot opened. This, we expect to be able to have operational before the box store opens, but it's about a $500,000 expense. So we're trying to allocate cost to proportionate amount of development area, so that we can kind of manage that. Our goal would be to say, we anticipate.
So really quick, what you're asking is to be able to do from the red line north of the canal.
Yep.
And wait and do the bottom half to when you can see how it landscapes to make it meander versus a straight shot.
We can probably do a much more aesthetically pleasing job.
I would be okay with it because people aren't moving in there until the residential
Right.
is coming.
Now, one other thing on the trail to just kind of inform everybody. The trail's kind of drawn as the plan for the trail is kind of drawn on a parallel line with the canal through that area, right? The signals where the pedestrians are going to have control on Crossroads. We're anticipating that the primary trail system will come across Crossroads, cross at this point, and then be able to work back to the connections. We will, if it's in plan review, if people want a pedestrian corridor to follow this trail easement in addition to this, we can work on taking them through parking areas and trying to create corridors. But our vision would be that the pedestrian trail from here to here is yet to be designed. At this point, we're anticipating it'll come along the drive aisle, hit the signal, have a crossing opportunity, or it can bank back around and travel on the walkways along Crossroads Boulevard down towards Home Depot.
On the north side.
Yeah, the Jarrell
On
connection.
the south side or cross to the north.
And go
That's
to
where you're going to
Walmart.
have the control for the pedestrian crossing, is at the signal.
That makes sense.
Yeah, there won't be a crossing at 400 east or west, at the north part. And so the trail continues along Star Haven and on 400 west. So staff has recommended they go to they take the trail to the signal to have that signal in order for pedestrian
That makes
crossing.
sense.
So we would propose, as you see the road there at 1400?
1400.
1400 coming in, we make the traffic connections, we make the pedestrian crossings, we get that spine in place, and then we complete the design work as we just kind of work around to the south, and as the residential site plans come in, we can work on design details for trail and public corridors and all of those kind of things in conjunction with the landscaping for the project, with the vertical articulation for townhouses and the stack flats and how that all fits together.
Okay.
And they have agreed to pipe the canal through the commercial portion of the property, which is not required in the code. Just to throw that out there, that they're offering, as part of the development agreement, to pipe the entire section of the canal. It would be required through the residential portion, not through the commercial portion. And then they've also agreed, of course, to install the signal there. So there are additional benefits to the city in rezoning the property and entering into this development agreement.
Their traffic study would require a light with the big.
It may.
It would.
You're probably right. They are piping the canal, which is an additional
We're
concession that
anticipating
they've
it's
made.
Incidentally.
Well, you have one of the largest retailers that will be in the city coming in here, and so you would have been required to have a light.
Traffic studies did not require the light on Redwood Road to begin with. And then later, as the Home Depot reran the data, a few months before we were running out of time, they did meet the warrants for the traffic lights. So I was actually in another meeting, get a call from UDOT, and they say, hey, we can't give you access to the road until you get a signal installed. Well, we're opening everything in like 3 months, guys. So anyway, they cooperated, the city was great.
And we had the blockade.
Speed. We were able to get it all done. UDOT leaned in hard. This one will be planning on it from the beginning and get it involved. And then we will be piping from the residential to regional commercial line up as part of the first phase. So that will be put underground, and then we'll work on the design on the landscaping as we come to that.
Can I just say one more thing, and then I'll shut up? But the applicant has not signed this development agreement, which is usually required before the council meeting. So if you can put a condition of approval that they execute the development agreement, subject to any changes that you make, if you do approve this, that would be appreciated. And also to help us out as staff, sometimes tracking down the signatures for that development agreement would be a challenge. If you can put a deadline, maybe within 30 days, executing the agreement, that would be much appreciated.
And there will need to be a change in that specific language in the DA. It is in section 5. It's about halfway through that large paragraph for trail improvements. It says that in accordance with city construction, project and construct the canal in accordance with the city parks, recreation, trails, and open space master plan and engineering standards and specifications with the first phase of the project, and shall connect to the existing trail south of the developer's property boundary and extend to the signalized cross to the intersection on Crossroads Boulevard. So there is that one section that says that it needs to be connected, the trail needs to be connected in the first phase all the way to the south property border, which goes into the Intermountain property and then underneath Pioneer Crossing over to the SLR property
In phase 1.
in phase 1.
So that's a lot of words. I'm going to be referencing what you said
Okay.
in my motion.
So the motion that if you approve it would need to include that the northern piece of the pipe is piped, and that the second phase of the pipe could be done as part of the second phase. Is that, Richard, am I understanding you correctly?
That's what we're requesting.
Because you're doing it with the residential phase, which is phase 2.
Just to clarify, yes, the development agreement has been signed. And the reason for that, well, we're approving the form with this one, we're in agreement with one exception, but the Horn family's owned this property for decades. They contributed to the development venture with us at the time that we start construction. So Mark Horn happens to be in Lake Powell this week, wasn't available for signature. Otherwise, it would be signed, but we would have been addressing this one exception anyway. So we're happy with the form, and we're not delaying. There's no intent to delay on the execution. We can have an execution requirement within, 2 weeks if you want, or whatever seems
I'll say
appropriate.
30 days.
So I've got a couple questions. Your phase 4, right below that is the weird triangle that I thought at one point was being looked at for this.
Yes.
You're no longer interested in that, or IHC owns that, I think, today?
Done a lot of business with IHC in the recent years. We have a very good relationship with them. They're very happy to dispose of the property. The church is not so happy to give up some of their entitlement rights to go
Okay.
outside the boundaries of their existing property. So that became.
So they don't want to give up DAP rights on that?
That's right.
Yeah, and with the expansion of Pioneer Crossing, looking at the expansion of that,
It takes
the
up.
majority of that triangle is going to be
Going to
eaten
come
up.
out? Okay. My other question here is, in the rezone, it's not in the development agreement today, but are you okay in restricting any residential over commercial in your RC zone?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what you're requesting. We are requesting the 18
Are you
units.
getting all that, Michael?
I am.
Sorry, Kevin, just a question for you. Is that something we add to the development agreement?
Yeah, that would have to be added to the development agreement.
Right.
That is being, as the next item on the agenda. That's one of the things in that development agreement.
Right.
Yeah.
So just make sure that's added to your motion, that gets added to the development agreement.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, here we go.
Good luck.
I move that we approve business item 2 as listed on the agenda with an MF14 multifamily component and removing the business park for regional commercial as we reallocate that business park to the west side of Crossroads Boulevard. That DA Section 5, as outlined by staff, it controls the trail improvements for the canal where the commercial component is done in Phase 1 and the residential component is done in Phase 2. Is that correct? Okay. And also that the development agreement, condition of the development agreement be signed before this goes into effect, and that the development agreement includes that residential over commercial in the regional commercial will not be allowed. And there's also another condition to execute the development agreement before this goes into effect within 30 days.
Okay.
Did I miss anything?
I think that's good.
Okay.
Okay, I'll entertain.
I'll second that.
I have a first from Councilman McComber, a second from Councilman Carn. Any further discussion? Wadman?
Aye.
Wilden? Aye. McComber?
Aye.
Barton?
Aye.
Carn?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When will you be ready to make any announcements on this area?
As related to uses,
Yes.
soon.
People are going to be very anxious to hear what that big pink building is.
Good area right there.
Things
It's
are
Mary
moving
Kay.
along nicely, completing due diligence and moving towards closing. We are anticipating that building will be operational by November of next year.
November. So you've got a tenant ready to, okay,
They're a party to the design.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Jacobs Ranch.
You wait in line at Smith's on a Friday, you're excited for this.
Jacobs Ranch Marketplace rezone.
Any day.
Okay, this item is returning to the city council. This was at the last city council meeting, June 4th. The item was tabled. There were concerns about the uses, setbacks, and height on the property. Staff met with the developer and with Councilmember Barton on June 13th to discuss additional details of the development agreement. And the development agreement has been reworked to address those concerns. So first, to address the concerns about the uses, they're proposing that instead of going to RC zone, they're now proposing the CC zone, community commercial zone.
On the non-regional.
On that 14 acres that's being rezoned. The other portion will still remain regional commercial. And then To address the concerns about setbacks and height, the development agreement has been amended to add in that they will have a 90-foot minimum lot width, that they will be allowed one building 40 feet high. All other buildings shall be 35 feet or less. And also, the development agreement still includes the clause that dwelling above commercial will be prohibited in the entire project, all 28 acres.
That's not allowed in the CC.
It's not allowed in the CC, but they have half of their project.
Already
is
RC, right, okay.
And so it prohibited in that section as well.
Yep.
They've agreed to that too, that's good.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah, and we do have they are here tonight if you have any questions for them. And
Yeah, they're welcome to come up. You're not obligated to speak.
My name's Forrest Gaskill. I'm not obviously Bill Gaskill. He had his 30th wedding anniversary tonight. Decided he would be easier to reschedule or to
30 years, yeah.
Exactly. So, but I'm happy to. I've been part of these discussions from the beginning, so I'm happy to answer any questions.
I don't think there's any new
No,
additional questions.
this addressed everything for me.
Okay. So yeah, thanks staff, thanks those on the city that worked with it. Kevin, thought you were going to shut up. Just kidding.
No, just for that one item. I just have to provide a clarification, and I'm trying to pull up the development agreement. It's in a 200-plus page packet, but I believe that we did not have the residential above commercial restriction in the RC portion of the project in the revised DA, but let me
I think it is.
let me
I saw it
just
today.
verify that.
I saw it today.
let's see how it's written here.
I thought we reverted back to what was.
Did you revert it back? Because I saw it yesterday when I was reading the packet.
And you could be right.
Did you see it, Chris?
Just double
I
check.
called Austin today, we talked
Yeah,
about it.
section 3, the third paragraph of section 3, I'll just read the whole paragraph. It says, as an express condition of granting the zoning request, developers shall be bound by the permitted land uses in the RC and CC zones as they pertain to the respective property sections, except that dwelling above commercial shall not be permitted within the project. So when it says project, that refers to all 28 acres.
I see that now. Yeah, you're correct. This was, different versions were going back and forth, but that's correct.
Can I just make a quick comment?
You bet.
Just a big shout out to city staff and to the developer for meeting. And it actually went so great.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't sure how it would go because of things that we were asking for, but as soon as the city staff brought up community commercial, we're like, that totally works for here. And the developer, thank you again for being willing to look at that and to look at different options because it was really great. And I feel like we addressed everything that we were concerned about, everything that like the residents were concerned about. I think we reached all of that. So just a big thank you.
Yeah, and you guys were great to work with. I think we kind of stated this last week. Our approach is to try to get everyone kind of in agreement at the beginning. We know that there's a lot more that goes into getting the individual sites approved, so we don't want to be fighting people every step on the same page at this point. And then obviously we'll work out any other issues in the future, but we just want people to be in agreement right now.
And just to put on record as well, yeah, like the minimum height for buildings in commercial is 40 feet, but they said they wouldn't even need that except for maybe one building. So most of the buildings will even be at the neighborhood commercial height, which is the 35. Yeah. So
It's very refreshing.
That was really
Thank
great.
you.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'm going to make that motion. I'm changing this around a little bit, right, on the business item because it says regional commercial, so I just have to throw out there the community commercial, right? I move that we approve business item number 3 as Jacobs Rents Marketplace rezone from R110 to community commercial and general plan amendment from low density residential to community commercial right there as well, right?
Yep.
Community commercial concept plan and development agreement located at approximately 1900 South Railroad Road, ordinance 2425 on today's date.
Okay, I have a first from Councilwoman Barton,
I'll second.
second from Councilman Carn. Any further discussion?
I just really want to point out that staff, we cannot make these types of mistakes. If Councilwoman Barton hadn't noticed that it said regional commercial, community commercial on here, that's just not acceptable.
I think we have to put that because that's how we notice it to the public, right?
That's how it was noticed originally. Now, you can, as a council, because you're going down instead of up, if you were to go from If it was the opposite situation where you're going from community commercial to regional commercial, we would have had to renotice this, but because you're going down, that's acceptable.
It's okay
It
to just change the motion.
Right, and just in your motion, if you can clarify the revised development agreement, which is in the packet, just to clarify for the record in the minutes.
Also made.
Second.
Okay. Amended first, amended second. Okay, Wadman,
Aye.
Hilden.
Aye.
Carn.
Aye.
Barton.
Aye.
Comber.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
I'll ask you the same thing. When are you going to be ready to talk about this?
Our timeline's pretty similar to the last app. Later this summer, we'll be able to announce name. We're hoping 2025, November-ish, we'll be trying to target.
Okay.
Basically, you want to get open for Christmas.
Staff, can we just, for these two big developments, like we did with Holiday Oil, can we ask you to put a sign up in advance? I know our sign code's not necessarily there, but that'll save people bugging Chris 24/7. What's that building with wood?
Chris always gets tagged with those questions, absolutely.
I didn't think you were opposed to Chris being bugged every 5 minutes.
No, but I feel bad for his family. But no, if we can just, when you start the development, put up a sign that says, here's who's coming. Good heavens.
And allow you to market,
We've
right?
lost thousands of hours of residence time each day.
Mayor, and take away all the speculation that happens in the public?
That's the fun
Go to
part.
gambling outside of Vegas here.
I just put my phone number if you have any questions.
Oh, yes, please.
there you
Yes.
go.
Is that
Well,
on
but
record?
you know,
Can
when we put
that
it
in?
for holiday, people were excited. They could see it. It was under
The
construction.
anticipation is part of the fun.
When my wife asks me, I just give her Chris's number. So.
And you have to reply to every comment too. Every-
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Google.
Wilden wants to know if you'll be the
questions.
first development to do a development reveal party. We'll pop a balloon. What is it?
Go, what's coming?
Oh. I was like, where are you going?
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, amendments to Title 19 land.
Okay, Mayor and Council, we have had a few different discussions for amending our permitted uses chart, and 3 separate items, but combined into the same chart of permitted uses. So we'll kind of review them individually. We have had, as listed here first under identified uses, churches was a discussion that came up in a recent separate conversation regarding whether or not churches could be permitted in industrial areas, office, warehouse, light industrial, and business parks. It was determined from a legal standpoint that we couldn't prohibit that type of use in these zones. So we are looking at just adding that as a permitted use in those zones. Second, on the chart here, ancillary commercial uses, including various retail and recreation services in the institutional and civic zone. And this is kind of a precursor to another item that's coming up scheduled for your next meeting, where we're looking at changing the zone on a lot of our city-owned properties, specifically and including the marinas, looking at opportunities that could be permitted in those particular facilities, but would also be available for other city facilities such as the new City Hall Library and such, where perhaps there are some quasi or smaller retail or business opportunities that could benefit the public use of those areas or those marinas, those parks. So we're looking at a small list of ancillary uses, and again, ancillary with a note in the chart saying that it would be only ancillary to the main uses that are permitted in this zone. So we wouldn't be overwhelming the actual intent and purpose of that zone. And then funeral homes, also, we looked at that. There was a potential request coming forward for a funeral home in a zone where crematories are permitted in the industrial zone. But we didn't have a funeral home. That was also something that a lot of times they go hand in hand, or sometimes the same business. So we felt that was an appropriate addition to make it a permitted use, a funeral home a permitted use in industrial. So then with that, we're amending the purpose statement in our code for institutional civic zone, adding the red line language there, as well as some limited and ancillary commercial uses to benefit the public use of certain facilities. So the ancillary uses that are being listed here are those that are shown here. Again, they would not be the main use in any of those properties, but they could be smaller. And of course, since they are city-owned properties, they would be part of our own site plan approval or our project approval if we were to permit any of these ancillary uses. Also listed there is added as permitted. We found that these couple of items were not currently listed as a permitted use under institutional civic, so we've added the marina and the recreation center there. So again, we're coming up with a new item the next meeting to rezone city properties that fall under this category from a residential zoning sometimes or another type of zoning, and so that all of our parks, as we did a couple years ago with Patriot Park, we changed that to institutional civic so that we could do some other facilities that were not normally permitted in the zone that it was in. So that'll be coming up at the next meeting. So this just shows some of the sections of the chart that will be amended. Any questions?
If there's no, Councilman Carn.
One, yeah. Ken, today funeral homes, this is adding it to the industrial zone. It's permitted. I thought it was permitted in other places.
Yeah.
Okay, nope, that's it.
And I will entertain a motion.
I'll move that we approve business item 4 as stated on the agenda, including any staff findings and conditions.
I have a first from Councilman Wilden.
Second.
I have a second from Councilman Wadman. Any further discussion? McComber. Aye. Wilden.
Aye.
Carn.
Aye.
Barton.
Aye.
Wadman.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We have need for closed session. I'll entertain a motion.
So made.
I have first from Councilman Carn, second from Councilman McComber. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We will take a quick 5-minute recess before we jump into that.